When you look up at the sky, you probably expect the end of the world to come at you, right? Like a meteor or maybe a solar flare.
Yeah, or like a divine lightning bolt.
Exactly. But in this custom deep dive into the eschatology sources you provided, we're tracking this terrifying shift.
Right, the realization that the meteor isn't actually coming from space. We're the ones building it.
Yeah. So our mission today is tracing humanity's ultimate obsession with doomsday, going from ancient prophecies to the cold math of modern science, and, well, finally, to our own self-destruction.
So to really understand that modern anxiety, we have to look at how our ancestors categorized the end. And historically, those frameworks basically fall into two distinct models.
Right. Linear and cyclical, which I like to upgrade and think about like video games.
I like that.
Yeah, so linear time is your final game over screen, right? Every action builds toward a permanent final chapter where all the loose ends are judged. But cyclical time, that's just hitting the reset button on the console.
Shaking the Etch-a-Sketch clean.
Exactly. It isn't a judgment. It's just clearing the board to draw something new.
That is a perfect analogy. And the earliest fully developed linear model, so your game over screen, comes from ancient Persia with Zoroastrianism.
Oh, right, the molten metal thing.
Yes. They believed in a final cosmic conflict that culminates in an ordeal of molten metal. If you were an ancient Persian, you literally believed you'd have to walk through a flowing river of magma.
Which sounds insane, but according to the texts, if you were righteous, wading through that magma feels as soothing as warm milk.
Yeah, but if you were wicked, it's this painful, purifying fire, a totally permanent end for evil.
But then the cyclical model, the reset button, is, completely different. Like the Buddhist texts in the sources describe the end via 7 progressively hotter suns.
Right. One sun dries the rain, the next boils the rivers, and it just goes on until the 7th literally incinerates the planet, leaving 0 ash.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a painful prerequisite, but it leaves a clean slate so the cosmic cycle can just restart.
So both of those paradigms rely on gods or cosmic fate. But science kind of secularized the apocalypse, right? By revealing the universe has its own purely physical endpoints.
Vacuum decay is a prime example of this. It's based on quantum tunneling. So imagine a ball trapped in a valley. Normally, it needs an outside push of energy to roll over the mountain into a lower valley.
Okay, makes sense.
But quantum tunneling means the ball just randomly falls through the mountain.
Right, so if the universe does that, if it spontaneously drops to a lower energy state, it triggers vacuum decay.
Exactly. It creates this bubble of pure destruction expanding at the exact speed of light. And because it moves at light speed, there is 0 warning.
Not at all.
No, it just washes over us, instantly rewriting the fundamental laws of physics and obliterating all matter.
See, I get the terrifying math of vacuum decay, but honestly, it feels completely irrelevant.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, if the sun expanding or this random quantum bubble happens in a billion years or, instantly without us even feeling it, why do we care? Human anxiety just isn't built for cosmic timelines. There has to be a more immediate trigger for our modern panic.
You're touching on the exact shift that happened in 1945. The atomic bomb turned the apocalypse from a distant cosmic event into an anthropogenic or human-made threat.
We became the trigger.
Exactly. Once the threat became something we could trigger ourselves, we couldn't just leave it in the hands of philosophers anymore. We had to measure it. We needed a speedometer for our own destruction.
Which is why the sources you shared on the doomsday clock reflect such terrifying new math. At 85 seconds to midnight for 2026, we aren't just measuring nuclear tension anymore.
No, we are measuring a total system overload. It's the closest to catastrophe in its 79-year history. The setting cites a severe convergence of crises.
Right. The sources explicitly mention the expiration of the New START nuclear treaty, which removes guardrails on arms races, plus the unchecked weaponization of artificial intelligence.
And record-shattering climate extremes, they're all just feeding into each other.
But if we cause our own extinction, doesn't that rob the apocalypse of its historical purpose? Think about the molten metal or the 7 suns. There was purification, moral redemption.
Meaning.
Yeah, exactly. If we just hit system overload, there is no redemption, just an empty planet.
And that loss of meaning is really the core of modern existential dread. The apocalypse transitioned from a story about ultimate cosmic justice into a story about systemic failure.
It becomes a tragedy without a moral.
Right. Sitting with the reality that we might just clumsily erase ourselves is psychologically devastating.
Which explains why we use pop culture as a pressure valve. We have to process that devastating loss of meaning somehow, so we turn abstract data into consumable entertainment for catharsis.
Take the 1999 Arnold Schwarzenegger film, End of Days. Instead of quiet, terrifying submission to systemic failure, Arnold is out there fighting the literal apocalypse with helicopters, exploding subway trains, and guns.
We desperately want to believe we can fight back. Doomsday stories act like dark mirrors, perfectly reflecting the political and spiritual state of the people imagining them.
Oh, absolutely. They show us exactly what we fear most in our own era.
Which leaves a wild thought for you to chew on. We started by talking about looking up at the sky, waiting for an external force to end it all, and now we're staring in the mirror at our own technological creations. If our apocalyptic myths are just reflections of current societal anxieties, strike that. If our myths just reflect our current anxieties, what entirely new, unimaginable threats will humans be writing doomsday stories about a century from now?